media. As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And welcome back, Obscurians, to another episode of Obscurity Now. My name is Steve. I'm one of the hosts, and with me is a man who was voted most likely to become a cyborg in high school. It's
Yahel. How are you doing, Steve? It is so nice to see you.
What the fuck? It's nice to see you too, man.
I just knew, like, if I was, like, very pleasant to you, it would throw you off.
Well, mission accomplished. Why? I used to think I was a podcast professional, but hey, you proved me wrong. I should have just rolled with it, but yeah, you did it. You ruined the show and my career. Congratulations.
Wow. I didn't even think it would be that effective. So this reminds me of when NASA landed the first Mars rover, and then it ended up lasting like an extra year than it was supposed to. It's pretty much on the same level.
Well, speaking of Mars, isn't that where you're podcasting from right now? The red planet itself?
Yes, I'm actually I'm live from that Xbox game, Red Faction.
Man, no one's mentioned that game in a while. Are they bringing it back or something?
No, it takes place on Mars. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, we've got our super fan. I don't know if he likes to be called that or not. Creative KB jumping right in there. You want to go ahead and read his note?
Oh, yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, Creative KV with we sometimes, for those that don't know, have a No Fear shirt of the week, where I just find some terrible No Fear shirt from the 90s, which there is no other kind of No Fear shirt. And then we read whatever dumb thing it's on the back. But Creative KV tends to bring his own, and they're just as good. They're actually better.
They are.
And also as bad as the No Fear shirt. So let me read Creative KV here in our chat. He said, "Real men don't need mechanical parts to enhance themselves. Strength comes from within. No fear."
No fear. Good
that does
stuff.
Sound like it could be a no fear.
Oh, absolutely. And for those of you who enjoy the No Fear shirt of the week, or just really bad 90s fashion, we were talking about expanding into other avenues of bad 90s t-shirts, including the Big Johnson shirts. And what was the other one? Bad Boy?
Bad Boy, which was like a No Fear knockoff. Because, yeah, there's, I mean, a lot of the No Fear shirts, they're just kind of lame. Like, and not so much funny lame, just kind of like, oh, okay, that's a real weird sentence you put out there to print on some cotton. So yeah, I that's part of the reason why I don't bring him every week. The other part of the other reason is because I forget.
Wow, gee, I wonder why. Couldn't have anything to do with copious amounts of cannabis, could it?
Well, Steve, it's funny because I just found out another member of the podcast had apparently done previous episodes while also on drugs. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to call anybody out because that's not my style.
Dare you?
But it wasn't me.
So I'm curious, do you have any plans for Thanksgiving? Because the next episode will be after Thanksgiving happens. You doing anything?
Yeah, I'm going to disappoint my mother next week.
By showing up?
Yeah, well, we'll probably get into some religious conversation.
So
I'll tell her what's up.
Who starts? Do you start or does she start?
I don't start them. But the problem is that if they say just about anything religious in a positive light, that just gets me going, you know. And
you can't just play it cool. You can't show up to Thanksgiving high and just be like, whatever, man.
My mom's like 80. I don't know how much more time I'll have to get these religious zingers in on her. So I look at it as me, getting to spend this time with her. I don't want to have regrets when she passes away, Steve. Like, oh, I could have burned her real good about 1 Corinthians chapter 2.
I hope you mention Leviticus a lot when you're over there. That's always my favorite.
It has come up. Oh, by the way, Creative KV also said, I believe this is in reference to you calling him a super fan. I'm insulted, unsubscribing. You can't have fans. Otherwise, this podcast isn't obscure.
Well, can we at least have one Creative KB? I mean, we've been languishing in obscurity for almost 3 years now. I think we're allowed to have one, right?
Well, I thought the whole point was to be very meta and eventually have another podcast that handles obscure media do a episode about us.
Wow.
I thought that.
When did we discuss this?
Oh, that was a conversation between me and the weed.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were cheating on me with other podcasters again.
No, not this week. But yeah, should we get going here? We're doing another RoboCop related thing as Robo-vember continues murdering citizens and criminals with no due process.
And shooting guys in the dick, of course. But before that, I would like to encourage everyone to please check out the Escape to Earth Issue 3 Kickstarter. I believe there's 12 days left. So if you enjoy the work we do here on Obscurity Now, our one fan Creative KB, and you want to give back, just go and buy some comics. There'll be a link in the description. Yes, that's the right word. And
you're a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I'll be playing one of our hilarious promos at the end of the episode. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, yeah, I think we can jump right into our read through of Robocop #1 by Marvel Comics. You ready?
Yes, I was sorry. I was just laughing because Creative KB had written that we should cover our old episodes.
That would be hilarious. When we get to year 5, we'll do that. All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
Alrighty. There it is. Robocop #1. Just look at it, listeners. Just look at it. No, we'll talk about the cover here in a minute. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about some facts about Robocop Volume 1 here. This is the first ongoing series of Robocop. There was previously an adaptation of the movie, and this one is based on the movie, as it says right there on the cover. And Robocop Volume 1 ran from March of 1990 all the way to January of 1992. 23 issues. And this, as I said, was published by Marvel Comics. And Robocop has been published by a bunch of different publishers, including Dark Horse, Avatar Press, Dynamite Entertainment, Boom Studios. And I think I know the answer, but have you ever read a Robocop comic book in your entire life until now?
No. I had not.
Not even back in the 90s, RoboCop versus Terminator. That was kind of a big deal.
No, I never even tried reading any comic books that were related to like a movie or a cartoon even as a kid, because I just always thought that they were not good, like those licensed comics.
Well, as we've seen, most of them aren't.
Yeah, and I really don't know what got that into my head, but yeah, even as a little kid, I was like, oh, that's gonna be bad.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the Dark Horse stuff was good in the 90s. And of course, as I've said before, the original Marvel run of G.I. Joe is amazing. But anyway, moving on with Robocop #1 here. It's got a cover date, March of 1990. And we are reading, as I said, the first issue. And it is known as Combat Zone. And that is combat with a K. And what is this, 3 years before Mortal Kombat? And they did Combat with a K? Look at that. RoboCop's always ahead of the time. So here's a synopsis for the issue, and it's as follows. OCP enters the next phase for building its CEO's prophesized Delta City. A competing company called Nixco tries to muscle in on the Delta City contract and steal specs from RoboCop's design to release their own version of law enforcement, manufacturing a small army of robotic Nix cops. Their first mission is to destroy RoboCop along with apprehending a criminal who can tie a Nixco executive to a murder. And this was written by Alan Grant. And he was a British comic book writer known for writing Judge Dredd, 2000 AD, as well as various Batman titles from the late 1980s to the early 2000s. And I guess he's a co-creator for a few Batman villains, Anarchy, Victor Zaza, and the Ventriloquist. Are you familiar with any of those Batman villains?
No, but those sound like those classic, terrible, like Golden Age or Silver Age Batman villains that they're here. They pop in for an issue and they're never heard from again. I
feel like the Ventriloquist has been around, but yeah, I'd say you're probably right. And
hey, Steve, do you know? Creative Kiwi was kind of asking about it. I don't think it was a real question, but I am kind of curious myself. Do you know why Robocop has a visor for his eye area?
So, I guess because his eyes are like real human eyes, so he has to be able to see like the prompts and stuff that pop up.
Oh, so it's like a screen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes total sense. I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So now you know. A reading rainbow. Yeah, that's right. I'm reading the chat. So the artist here is also from the UK, one Lee Sullivan. And he worked for Marvel UK and Doctor Who magazine, Judge Dredd, 2000 AD. He did covers for Transformers. And all right, here's a test for you. Did you happen to read the actual format here before we started?
I skimmed through. I saw you had like each page. You had a note for each page.
Well, did you happen to notice that we have a Star Trek connection here for the first time ever?
Oh, no. Yeah. I did not notice. Good job, Steve.
Hold on.
Proud of you.
All right. Well, let me tell you the connection first. The artist here, one Lee Sullivan, worked on Tech War. Does that count?
That does not count.
Come on, William Shatner's Tech War. He wrote it, and he was Captain Kirk. Come on, there's your Star Trek.
But he didn't do anything directly on Star Trek, so it's not a...
I don't know. All right.
There's more of a William Shatner connection, if anything.
I guess.
Or a Tech War connection, if you will.
One of these days, we're going to cover it. I can't wait. One of these days.
We could probably do connections for Tech War, too, because that had a lot of random guest stars and stuff.
Mm-hmm, for sure. But other than that, let's see. Did you have you ever read a British comic before in your life? Like any of these? A Judge Dredd, a 2000 AD, any of that? Maybe or Death's Head. I remember for some reason Death's Head always popped up in the 90s.
I don't think I have, but I'm just a big patriot. So.
Of course you are.
I love America too much to read a British comic book, Steve. I like my comic books in English.
Right. You were too busy reading The Punisher with me back in the 90s. Yeah. It's a good...
Yes. We're draped. We would huddle under a big American flag.
Right, of course.
That's what we would do. And we would it'd be dark under the flag, so we'd light a sparkler. That would be...
This is the most bizarre...
We inhaled so many fumes. Anyways.
All right, so let's talk about this cover. Why don't you describe it to the people who aren't watching?
Well, if you're like a fan of Robocop's Robo Crotch, this is a great Robo cover of this Robo comic book. Because, his crotch is up front and center.
Wait. I'm glad
his legs look.
I'm glad you started with the crotch though, because you notice it's the design from the movie and not the cartoon.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. The cartoon he has like a metal thing covering his
the Robo cod piece. It's been named by me.
The Robo genitals.
Mm-hmm.
The cover itself, it's okay, I guess. It really doesn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think his thighs are like a little too skinny too.
I didn't really get that.
You don't think so? Those thighs look pretty thin.
I think
skipping leg day over here.
More, it would be too much. I think. I don't know.
Maybe I was like my RoboCop a little thicker.
Well, I'll say I do like that they use the the logo from the movie, the Robocop font, if you will. And below it, it says the future of law enforcement, as if we didn't already know that. And of course, the nice little sunburst here saying first action-packed issue. But what do you think? I mean, I assume. What's up?
One thing, Steve, in the chat, Creative KV, because Robocop's holding a gun and it's kind of like pointed, towards the front of the cover. He pointed out in the chat that that's not a gun, that's a long birdhouse. And oh my God, it does look like a birdhouse.
Yeah, but I mean that's the typical RoboCop gun. Are you saying there's something wrong with the proportions, perhaps?
Well, it just looks like a house, like the front of it.
Oh,
like,
I see it.
I guess, yeah. Once you see it,
or a schoolhouse, all the little bullets are like
like a
students.
schoolhouse with a giant hole in the middle. Very strange that happened.
I mean, I think it's strange that he saw that Creative KV saw that first. But good for him. And anyway, you see a couple of I mean, they're not exactly. I mean, they're bad guys. There's a few guys on hover bikes in the background, and I guess that's supposed to be old Detroit behind RoboCop. I think it's pretty nice. I mean, obviously, they want the RoboCop fans to buy this licensed RoboCop comic. But the big question here is, what do you think about RoboCop's rendering by the artist here, Mr. Lee Sullivan?
Oh, I mean, it's fine. Looks pretty close to the movie. As Creative KV pointed out in the chat, also, his abs are here. His rectangular Robo abs are here. But yeah, no, it looks pretty good. The art overall in the comic book is pretty good.
I agree.
I thought I'd never heard of this guy before, but yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
I agree. All right. So let's, I guess, just jump into the comic book here. So it's nighttime in old Detroit. And there's a guy, he's thinking to himself, oh, God, they're coming to get me. And it's like a older, balding guy. And those shadowy characters from the cover, they're basically lurking behind him. And we get the thugs, they're basically saying, hey, old man, it's like they say you can run, but you can't hide from the urban curs. And then we...
Continuing the tradition of RoboCop gangs having terrible names.
Yes, but even worse, all right, this is the first instance of a little... And I'll say, spoiler alert, I think Alan Grant is probably doing a better job here on licensed RoboCop comics than he should have. But there's a few times where his Britishness works into the dialogue. Did you pick up that as you were reading?
Well, I guess I did, but I didn't know it was that the guy was British. But there were a few things that the way they were worded, I was like, huh?
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
And this is the start here.
This doesn't feel like freedom to me.
Right. Nowhere in the Constitution do they use the word cur. Am I right? And yeah, I mean, and that's not so bad here, but still, no American gang ever refers to themselves as curs that I know of. At least not since the 1800s.
Maybe in the future they do, Steve.
Maybe.
Don't be so close-minded.
Well, all right. That sets a precedent for this issue moving forward.
I did notice that the leader of the gang here, of the curs, on the red motorcycle or hover bike or whatever it is, he, like RoboCop, is also a fan of visors.
Yeah, well,
but
I mean, I'd say he's got the Geordie LaForge look going on.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's very Geordie LaForge.
Mm-hmm. But that screams the future, right? If you don't have those, those red '80s style glasses that are somehow futuristic but from the '80s at the same time, then you're not in the future, bro. You're just not. I don't know what to tell you.
I think the leader of the urban curs of RoboCop should have bonded over their love for eyewear.
He's too much of a punk, but anyway.
I guess the British people don't believe in that two men can love each other. But I don't know.
Okay. Wow. All right. Moving on then. We turn the page and we are looking through RoboCop's POV and his visor, which we just can't stop talking about it today, is giving him his readouts about what's going on. and we like see his hand. It's actually a pretty good reveal. I think if anyone has learned anything from RoboCop 1, it's like how to reveal him in like the first couple of frames or scenes, if you will. So the Urban Curs are, about to lay the smackdown on this bald guy. His name is like Pokey, basically. And the leader here, he's like pointing a shotgun right at his face. The Pokey here, he's like, please, guys, don't hurt me. I ain't got nothing worth stealing. And the leader is all, we already been paid for it, you baldy. Ooh, that hurts. Kiss it goodbye. And so he's about to like blow him away, but of course old Robo brings out his schoolhouse or birdhouse of a gun, and from off frame he goes, enough, drop your weapons, you are under arrest. And the leader's all, hey, who's the comedian? And of course, since this is feature film rated R RoboCop, he shoots him in the hand. And then RoboCop says, no laughs, cur. I said drop it. And then shoots him, and he drops his gun. And then we turn the page, and we get a full page spread of course, bullets bouncing off of RoboCop. The curs basically open fire on him. And this is some classic sort of 80s dialogue here. One of the other curs is all, Fraggin' K, it's some kind of machine. And then RoboCop is all, part machine, creep, also part man, also the part you do not want to hear, all cop, plus director, plus writer, plus actor.
Yeah. Very Garth Marenghi-esque.
So glad you picked up on that.
So do you think like when RoboCop like makes, you think he's like, at least in the comics, I don't know, it's been a long time since I've seen the movies, but he's so adamant about letting people know whether you're one of his enemies, his partner. He wants you to know he's also part man. Is that like letting people know his penis still works, maybe? Is that what this is about? Because that's the vibe.
I don't know. I think they were just like, hey, we want you to work in like all the sort of popular, I don't know, catchphrases from RoboCop into the comic. And also, I feel like here, this is kind of... Did you notice that RoboCop is a lot more quippy in this comic than he's been in...
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if that was just like me not remembering the movie, because I know he like says like a couple quippy things in the first one. At least that's how I remembered it, but not as much as he does in this issue.
Oh yeah, this is I'd say full on like British drollness, if you will. But but I don't mind it. But we'll see more going on. But I'd also like to comment on, they have the credits for the comic book, and how is it laid out?
This is very confusing to me at first, because it's like there's a poster on the wall that says, tomorrow, grand finale, Combat Zone, Detroit Steel versus New York Slam. And I was like, wait, what? Is this like the next issue or so? I like, are there two stories in here? I was very confused. But later on, we find out what this Combat Zone thing is about. And underneath that, as part of the poster, they just have like the credits.
Yep. And I like at the very bottom, Tom DeFalco, who was the head publisher of Marvel at the time. They call him a promoter. Yeah. And it's basically supposed to be, it's like a poster for wrestling, basically. But Combat Zone, I guess, is more like MMA than it would be pro wrestling. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, and it's also like involves electrocuting.
Yes,
opponent,
exactly.
So,
As we're,
it's a lot of things.
American Gladiators, it's all that stuff. I don't know. Yeah. Did you think that this was somehow a tie-in with RoboCop teaming up with Sting? Because that was around the same time, like 1990.
Maybe, I don't know. But I do want to say we have Paisley Boxers in the chat. Thank you for joining. He said that RoboCop is the tits.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very, I think it's a very, is that a British slang? I don't know.
But Creative KV also has mentioned that RoboCop's humor circuits have been calibrated.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
This issue.
For a full on.
But also his emotions and and being in touch with himself circuits, as we'll see, have also been calibrated.
Right. Well, I feel like the one thing you get with the comics that they don't really do in any of the other sort of media in the TV or the movies, that you get to see his thoughts or you get to read them.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Seems like a psychopath.
Well, isn't he? But all right. So
yeah, he's a cop.
Moving on, we we turn the page. Robocop opens fire on the Curs, and he says, "You should have taken the easy option." And then he continues talking trash to all of these guys. I swear it's like full on MCU like quipping here. And as he's taking out the Curs, there's a guy dressed like Carmen Sandiego, or your typical like 1950s detective, trench coat and hat, and he's filming RoboCop, and you get to see his thoughts in the thought bubble. He says, "Cost me plenty to hire those Curs, and that monster's pulping them. It's gonna be worth it though. Darkstone will ape for this footage." And then we get another classic sort of cop or even RoboCop scenario, if you will. The leader of the Curs takes Pokey hostage, and he's got a knife to his throat. And he's all, "Man, machine, I don't care. Back off or Baldy starts breathing through his jugular." And then we get to see through RoboCop's very popular visor. And they're sort of trying to do like a grid effect here. And to show that RoboCop is like trying to do his like sort of patented ricochet shot. And of course, the Pokey guy is scared he'll get shot. But of course, it's RoboCop, baby. And he takes out the Cur. I guess he shoots him dead, but it's kind of hard to tell. And plus, this is a Marvel comic in the 90s, so of course they're, not that extreme. And then the guy dressed like Carmen Sandiego throws like a grenade. And RoboCop tries to get answer. Oh, no, so he didn't kill the Cur guy with the shot earlier.
So I mean the Cur guy does get shot in the head though.
Yes, I was about to say in the third panel, RoboCop tries to, I guess, get some information or choke him to death, and the Carmen Sandiego guy shoots the head Cur in the eye, basically. But it's sort of semi-off camera, but it does happen. So there you go. And I guess, I'm sorry, the grenade that he throws is some sort of like a drone. RoboCop calls it...
As RoboCop calls it a smart gun.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how it is.
But yeah, it basically looks like a chubby little drone, like an egg-shaped drone.
Yeah, it's almost cute, isn't it?
It is kind of cute. You put some like googly eyes on it.
But RoboCop makes short work of it, and then basically he reports in and says all of the Curs are dead, and I guess the Pokey guy is wounded, and he's in pursuit of the guy in the trench coat. Any comments on that page there or anything?
Well, once again, RoboCop kills. No due process here. He will make the craziest ricochet shot imaginable, but he can't just hit somebody in the kneecaps.
Well, hey, he tried to be lenient at first. He shot the guy in the hand, but these Curs, they're just out of control. These people.
I mean, why not shoot them all in the hands or like the legs or something so that I don't think the next step was murder. Is just I don't know. That's just
he should break their backs, a la Shadowhawk. I mean, that's the easiest.
I mean, we'll get to it, but I guess we'll wait. We'll wait till we get to it. But this is like a comic book to me with no good guys.
Aw, you can't talk that way about RoboCop. All right, moving on. So then we get another shot through RoboCop's POV. He's engaging infrared to look at the footprints where the guy with the camera ran to. Like, what do you think about the use of the colors here in these two panels? Oh, he's gone, ladies and gentlemen. There's a cat over by a trash can for some reason.
Sorry, I heard. I got distracted. What do I think about what, Steve?
The use of the
trash can, the color.
Yes, the use of the color in the top two panels of the.
Oh, I read it in black and white earlier, but
what?
No, I don't know. That didn't make sense. I'm high, Steve. Yeah, no. The color all throughout the issue is really well done. Like art wise, this is one of my favorite books that we've read out of the ones that we've read from the 90s.
All right.
Like none of it is like crazy, none of it's like super stylistic
Right.
like you would get in the 90s, because I think this was published in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all like very, very well done. Proportions make sense. The angles make sense. The color, again, it's really good. Everything's just like very competent.
Why do you think Marvel chose two British guys to do RoboCop?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, maybe they had these guys on retainer and they're like, oh, we got to give somebody this book.
My only guess is like, well, these guys worked on Judge Dredd. He's kind of similar to RoboCop. Let's see what they can do with RoboCop. But and just
I mean, I will say like the writer, I think, definitely gets the the gist of the feel.
Yeah, the tone. Yeah,
RoboCop one, the tone. Thank you. That's the word, Steve. So maybe they had some guys like a few writers like submit like a treatment or something or an outline of what they would do, and they were like, hey, this is the most like it.
Oh, that's a pretty good guess, I'd say. But moving on, so RoboCop loses the reporter. I can't remember his name, but we'll get to it eventually. It's the guy I keep calling Carmen Sandiego guy. Anyway, so now they're basically packing up all the dead guys. RoboCop's thinking to himself. You think he thinks to himself in the RoboCop voice or the Murphy voice? I'm just gonna use the RoboCop voice. The Curs were out. The Curs were out to kill, not to rob. Infrared sensors might shed some light on the situation. And then I don't know why he needs infrared to look at an ID card and the name of.
Well, I will say that the writer doesn't seem to know what infrared is, because earlier he's like using infrared to follow the footsteps,
right?
But it's like that wouldn't leave like a heat.
Yeah. Still fun though. And so yeah, basically RoboCop. Well, he's holding it up into frame, but it would look really weird otherwise because it's a close-up of his face. He's looking at an ID card with a huge I and D on it. I don't even know how they could have any more room on there for any other information.
Yeah, you don't need infrared. You can see this from across the room.
And then he's also looking at some broken circuit board, and he's like, neither of them worth killing or dying for. So we turn the page, and then were you happy to see that they included the media break segments in this book?
Yeah, I was happy. I will say the first one, because they do two of these segments, isn't as Robocop-ish as I would have liked. I thought like the Prime Directives TV show actually did a better job with theirs. The second one's pretty good though. Although I do like the ad at the end of this one where it's like implied that like that's an ad for some kind of VR sex thing, but also you can have a fantasy where money is being brought to you, or I don't know. It's very strange.
Well, yeah, I'll definitely read that in a second. But yeah, basically it's your typical media break, which if for some reason you don't know what media break is, it's basically like the news show in the RoboCop universe, and they basically use it to talk about exposition, more or less. And the sort of running gag they do have though is they keep talking about Spain like declaring war on something, and then the female reporter she like just goes, okay, breaking, Spain is about to declare war on Africa, more on that later. And then they start talking about whatever's going on in old Detroit that is actually the story that we're reading. And she talks about Nixco, who was like the rival of OCP, and how they're basically, going up against OCP more or less. And the male one is like, the male reporter is, our estimates shave billions off the OCP quote. Plus, we have a viable alternative robot policing policy. Nixco is going places fast. So yeah, they're talking about, the fact that they too have basically a cyborg division, which, I mean, doesn't every tech company have a cyborg division? Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
And then he also talks about the Grand Combat finale or finals, which is going to come into play later. And then finally, we get the commercial that Yahel was talking about, and it's just like this. I guess is it a woman in a bathing suit, or she's basically naked? I think she's naked, but like her bits are covered up by her hair and floating money. and she's floating over this like fat naked guy who's got like, or no, he's not naked. He's wearing a wife beater or tank top, for lack of a better term, and he's got like a thing around his head, and it says, "Everybody has a secret dream. Now you can make your dream come true at Dreamarama." Yeah, and it's just a floating naked girl holding a big bag of money.
Yeah, it's very weird.
That's hilarious. I mean, good on the writers here. They really, I love it. All right. Anyway, so Robocop then.
By the way, I like how in the next panel where they show the outside of the arena, there across the street is a restaurant called McJunk Food.
Yeah, spelled Fude for food. Yeah, and then,
and then next to it is another restaurant or something, some business called Sleezos.
Yeah, I googled that. Sleezos is still in business in Detroit, believe it or not.
Oh,
I didn't. Anyway, so RoboCop is approaching the arena where they're holding this combat thing, and so these bouncers. I don't know why anyone would try to stop RoboCop from doing anything, but they're like, "Yeah, that's far enough, amigo. No ticket, no enter." So, "You deaf, amigo?" The man said, "Hike it." Am I supposed to be doing a Hispanic accent? Maybe you should be reading it.
You deaf, amigo? Yeah, I did you notice that this page is numbered 9 and then the next page is numbered 11?
Well, probably they took out an ad, I imagine.
The ads. Yeah.
So anyway, RoboCop replies, "Obstruction of an officer of the law in the performance of his duty is an offense." And then we turn the page, and the dudes are like hanging up by their collars, and RoboCop quips. He goes, "This time you escape with a caution, amigos." Like the feature film RoboCop would never say that, but you know what?
I feel we're like on the dial of if RoboCop being unemotional is 1 and Deadpool is 10. We're like at a 6.5.
Yeah, to me it's more like John McClane, like sort of one-liners from Die Hard. Bruce Willis.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
So basically, he's walking through the arena. In the third panel, we get to see a close-up of our combatants. How would you describe the ring attire of these guys?
It looks like it looks like they're wearing like an outfit that, or some kind of contraption bodysuit armor thing that like Lex Luthor would wear to fight Superman. Some kind of super suit. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like have like a plastic, or I guess it's probably metal, like upper body thing covering their torso, and then out of that there's like a cable with a weapon attached that lets them electrocute.
Tasers basically. And
like super powered
to me,
tasers.
Like towards the end of the 90s with G.I. Joe, they had Eco Warriors. These guys look exactly like the G.I. Joe Eco Warriors to me.
Okay, I'm not
just like bad action figure design, more or less. So yeah, basically they're battling, and the announcer is covering the fight. We don't really need to read that. And then the guy who wins is some guy from Ohio named Joe Cube with a K. I mean, what's with all these Ks instead of Cs? Like,
only RoboCop's the only person allowed to have a C in his name.
I don't know. Maybe they use the K differently in Britain or something.
The future.
But moving on, so RoboCop goes backstage, and the dudes are all like working out, and he's trying to get information. And let's see, is this worth reading? Why not? All right, let's go. Okay.
I don't know if it's worth reading.
Okay, all right. Well,
basically these two guys that like fight, they don't really have any information. They don't know why anybody would want to, do anything to Pokey. He's poor, he's worthless, blah blah blah. And then RoboCop's like, "Well, I want to talk to your boss. I think like he works for him." And the guy's like, "Okay, well the boss will be here later, but I don't think he's involved either." And that's pretty much it. We
keep hearing about Mr. King with a Y, Kyng. Shouldn't it be Cyng? Since we're mixing up all of our C's and our K's, and he's like the head promoter. And
we do see that RoboCop, I guess, can hear people's heartbeats.
Yeah, that's.
And he can tell if they're lying or not. Is that a thing from the movies? I don't remember
I
that.
mean, it's something that I feel like would make sense. Or
Is this his infrared
yeah,
sensor again?
that's really weird that they just show like a what is that thing called? An oscilloscope or something of the guy's heartbeats, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it
Hmm.
makes sense, but it's also weird at the same time.
Like this is like a superpower Superman
Yeah,
has.
Oh, I was thinking the same thing. But
Very strange.
anyway, basically, RoboCop leaves. He gets back in his Ford Taurus from the future, um, and he thinks to himself, the circuit board has been removed from Blaine's suit, has been tampered with, like Pokey Yules. See you at the final, King, Kyng. And so now we get basically a scene with the old man from OCP and the other guy, Johnson, who I think is in all three movies, and I think maybe even the TV show, but we'll figure that out later. And basically, they're just talking about RoboCop and how he does a great job arresting people, and also the old man is like, oh, we can't let these Nix cops ruin our stocks, blah blah blah. And Johnson is all, RoboCop won't let us down, sir. And the old man is all, he'd better not, Johnson, or it's your job. And so now we're in the police precinct, and of course, RoboCop is manhandling a suspect who looks suspiciously like Jaws from James Bond Jr. Did you get that? All right.
Yes. Yeah, he definitely does. Casey Boxers in the chat was saying that Robo remote cardiogram also knows when you drink too much coffee and are holding anxiety poops. Uh, yeah, this RoboCop knows too much.
Okay, AI is out there. Everyone, get used to it. Yeah. What do you think of RoboCop just completely ruining this guy's jaw and teeth?
Well, I guess the guy like bit RoboCop.
He's got a metal jaw and teeth. It's so like the thing that's funny here is that this is completely out of context. It's just some random guy that RoboCop picked up out of nowhere, and then we cut to the precinct, and RoboCop's just completely like messing him up.
It makes no sense. Like RoboCop's walking in with this guy's mouth like attached to his forearm because he bit RoboCop. Why would you, as the biter, wouldn't you just like let go so that you can get away?
Well,
RoboCop is dragging you into
yeah, that's true. But it is funny though. I'll give it that. It's ridiculous and over the top.
Yeah, and then like RoboCop like rips his like metal mouth or whatever off.
All right, so I am gonna read this because it's real quick. Okay. You can let go now. And the guy's going, ah, and then RoboCop, doom, like decks him in the jaw, and he goes, better. So another sort of weird little quip.
Yeah. Oh, I guess he says he can't let go. Like.
Yeah. All right. So
yeah. So the guy actually does
question the great Alan Grant.
If these guys had been fighting, if the writer had been fighting for the British during the Revolutionary War, we would have lost. He pays attention to detail.
Sure.
We'd
all right,
be
so we turn
eating tea and crumpets right now.
Yeah, right.
Sounds
They're always having
delicious.
tea over there. So we finally get a shot of Officer Lewis, RoboCop's partner, who has been suspiciously absent in the comic, not like in the cartoon where she's there almost everywhere where RoboCop goes. Do you think she looks like the one from the cartoon or the movie more?
The movie more, from what I remember.
Yeah, a little bit. Somewhere in between, I'd say. So they have a little bit of out of character banter, basically, between her and RoboCop. Oh, and this is where we get another sort of weird Britishism for RoboCop that doesn't feel right to me. So Lewis goes, some weird city, huh? And then RoboCop goes, doubly strange, Officer Lewis. Did that one stand out to you? The doubly strange? Have you ever said doubly strange in your entire life as an American, Yahel?
Well, I mean, it didn't strike me odd because he's just like saying that, what makes it even stranger is that we've got a guy here who like removed his teeth.
Right. No, I mean, it makes sense.
I've heard the phrase.
I mean, I know, but I mean, in everyday life here in the U.S. of A.
I mean, I've only ever heard it used in media. I've never
Yeah.
in
All
real
right.
life heard someone say
Okay.
it, but I
All
have
right.
heard
That's
it
the
before.
answer I'm looking for.
All right. Anything I can do to please you, Steve, and your preconceived ideas.
you you were talking about inhaling sparkler smoke underneath the American flag earlier.
That's why you're like this from all the fumes.
Oh yeah, you realize we didn't even know each other in the '90s. All right. And moving on here.
But
So,
you know what we did know?
the
The
Constitution of the
amendments.
United
Yeah.
States of America.
Yes.
We knew freedom. All right. Moving on here. We get the sort of classic Robocop in his Robo lab, sitting in his Robo chair, and he's thinking of back when he was letting his son handle his gun. But of course, that's not what it actually. But that's what it looks like from that bottom panel. He's like, "I was a man, a cop, not a great one, but getting better. I love my wife, my son, and my job." And he's there like flipping the gun right in front of his like son and wife. We could only hope that gun wasn't loaded. And then we get a close up, and in the background we see what he's thinking, and it's basically, Clarence Brodiger and his gang holding the guns like right to his face. And then we see, these are like, is this how your memories look, Yahel? Like infrared, like the Predator, like you're seeing it through the Predator
that's what's going on
visor.
here. Don't you see all the red behind me?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm actually coming to you from an Alex Murphy memory.
So we get a Clarence Brodiger here who looks nothing like the one from the movies. But yeah, still looks like a pretty good bad guy, I guess. And we get some dialogue straight from the movie here, which I definitely appreciate. And Clarence says, "I got this problem. Cops don't like me." And then they shoot Murphy a couple of times. And then he says, "So I don't like cops," which is, I don't know, just a classic line for me. And then as Robocop normally does, he starts freaking out as his, I guess, human side combats his programming, whatever. That's been going on for years. And then at the very end, we get a shot of the Nix cop, who is basically the Nixco's Robocop equivalent. Can you describe the Nix cop?
Well, one thing that the chat's been talking about, Paisley Creative, is the ab word. Everything has abs in this comic book. Like,
oh, I see that.
On the previous page, Lewis, her like suit had a bunch of like fake abs too. And then this guy's kind of got abs. The Nixco cop here. It reminds me of something like the design, but I can't quite. At first, I was thinking, like a Sentinel, but that's not it. But I don't know. You know what? It looks like a suit Lex Luthor would make for himself to fight Superman.
It's got to be like a design choice to make more sense or something. Because I feel like the armor that Lewis is wearing, I mean, it's very close to the movies, but it doesn't have the ab section that everyone is talking about. I don't know, maybe without the abs it looks bland or something. That's just a guess on my part.
Yeah, he's ribbed for our pleasure, I think.
Yeah, there you go. It looks like a Magnum condom. Oh, doy. But anyway, the Nix cop here. What do you think about it?
I don't really understand, like, because it seems like the Nix cop's like ready to go, and we're about to see that this guy's going to bring information to Nixco to, like improve or finish the Nix cop. But
yeah,
so I was kind of very confused about the whole thing. I mean, the design is fine. It's not like a classic design like Robocop, but
yeah, fine. I mean, I guess they really wanted to have an X up in like the face and head area because of Nixco.
I thought maybe he was just a fan of Starman, the wrestler from that NES wrestling game.
Oh, like, man, I'm a fan of that guy. That's a great game. Wow, what a deep cut. But that's what this podcast is all about. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, then you see more. We turn the page and see more Nix cops, and yeah, so it's basically the scientists in the back. They're observing the Nix cop, and one of the scientists says, "Our lab's been working on it day and night with precious little success. the neural infrastructures are just too complex. So that's the problem, is that I guess it can't think for itself in the way Robocop does. So then we see from the beginning of the book, the Carmen Sandiego dressed guy, and the one who was filming him, basically. And he says that he was filming him with like this camcorder.
Infrared camera.
Yeah, that has oh, no, wait, let me read
X-ray
it.
film.
X-ray film of Robocop in action, shot on a camcorder with a built-in analyzer. So basically, he's trying to sell Nixco this footage so they can improve their robots here. Like, you know, I guess you have to have the analyzer and stuff. Like, one would think, like, there's tons of footage of Robocop on Media Break that anyone could just take and examine for themselves. But that wasn't. Yahel, you got to have that X-ray analyzer in there.
Yeah, of course. That's just science, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, they take I guess it's a DVD or CD-ROM from the guy, and the Nixco guy whose last name is Darkstone. I mean, you got to be a villain if your last name is Darkstone. So they basically get rid of him, and we turn the page, and they're watching the tape, and basically I guess they see whatever they need to see in order to fix the Nix cops.
Yeah, like basically in the video they can see through because of the X-ray. Through the helmet, and they can see like the layout of the circuitry, and that lets them, I guess they're going to copy it because that's basically what they said. Can you adopt this into the Nixco model? And the guy's like, yeah, I can do it easy and cheap.
Yeah, then do it. So we turn the page and we get another media break, and it starts off with big news tonight. Is Spain has officially declared war on 4 North African countries. And the lady once again goes, more on that later. And for some reason, they talk about a tiny lion, like shrinking, I guess, the lions to...
I thought this was hilarious.
It was. It's so ridiculous. It's
basically like, it's so dystopian that in order to solve for not having enough food and space to keep like these animals that they're trying to preserve, like lions, I guess, apparently, they've just found a way to shrink them.
Yeah.
So they're like the size of your hand, but they're still ferocious.
Mm-hmm. And basically, this is just to continue talking about the combat arena for tonight's big tag match finale. The much-feared New York Slam versus local heroes Detroit Steel. And then the guy, he shills for... this plumbing product, crusted pipes, blocked drains. You haven't been using BAM, the plumber's bomb, which I think I prefer the other commercial better. But it is a pretty cool transition because they cut to the arena, and they're still doing the commercial above it. And whatever, I was impressed. So we'll go ahead and turn the page then, and.
Yeah, so these guys are trying to make like a drug deal in like around the entrance into the arena, and Robocop shows up, and of course Robocop doesn't let anyone get due process. Right.
Like he really you're right. He really turns into a grade A fascist in this one because all right, so I'm going to go ahead and read it because it's kind of funny, okay? So one of the thugs, he goes, blow the sucker away, and he opens fire on Robocop, which you'd think at this point the criminals of Detroit would know that Robocop is bulletproof. But
yeah, because they recognize him.
Yeah,
these two recognize him, but nope, they still give it a shot.
Yeah, but hey, I guess criminals are dumb. What can you do? So one of the other thugs... Yeah, and then one of the other thugs, who is still unloading on Robocop, says, consider yourself riveted, rust bucket. And Robocop says, very droll. And then Robocop, he bends the gun of the thug, and he calls him a chump, which is the most un-Robocop thing ever. But I don't know. Since it's in a comic book, it just made me laugh. I don't know. What do you think about Robocop?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what is going on with this Robocop. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they had him read some or watch rather some Die Hard movies recently.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because, as you said, Alan Grant definitely has the tone of the movies, but his RoboCop is, I don't know, just so quippy. It just maybe one of the editors were like,
he's more human than in the movies.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the same way with Prime Directives.
Well, I mean, but the Prime Directives took place, 13 years after the first
That one made
movie.
sense. Yeah, we talked about that, and that one makes sense because it's been 13 years. It makes sense that he's rediscovered more and more of his humanity since he was already kind of doing it in the movies. But anyway,
yeah, I'm guessing the editors were like, let's make him a little more fun, but that's okay.
Yeah, because which I kind of get, right? Because he's the main character.
Right.
So you don't want your main character to be this unemotional, boring robot.
Yes, absolutely. So the two thugs run away, but Robocop, he's not done. Wait, no, these aren't the thugs. These are the people who...
They were just buying drugs. In fact, I'm not even sure they were going to buy drugs because they were just walking by, and the only ones that talked are the drug dealers. The drug dealers just offer to sell them drugs.
Right.
We never hear if they want to buy them or not. And then RoboCop's like, the two guys that were being sold to, they try to run away. RoboCop.
And he says, users must also pay the price. He shoots a chain holding a sign. The sign falls, and he says 2 years apiece, and the sign falls on the two guys. So not only did RoboCop destroy property, but he very also must possibly have crippled these two guys for life.
Yes.
This is the most Judge Dredd thing RoboCop has ever done, I think. But look at that thug in the last panel. Doesn't he kind of look like Kenny Omega?
A little bit, yeah.
So
I do
anyway.
like. Whoa! You can't leave without this page without reading the last line, the quip RoboCop has here about drugs.
Okay, all right. So 3 walking wounded and 1 who forgot that drugs kill. And
no accountability. No accountability.
He should have just said, and so do I.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, RoboCop comes in, and this time the two thugs are like, welcome, Mr. RoboCop. Come right in, Mr. RoboCop. And he's like making his way through the audience. We see some of the poorly dressed combat guys or combatants, whatever you want to call them. He makes his way through, and then RoboCop continues to enforce the law as he makes his way through this audience. He puts out a guy's cigarette. Someone throws a hot dog at him, and he goes, "Banned additives disrespect to an officer of the law. You have 1 week to pay your fine." So he's just doling out the law left and right here. Like, come on, priorities here, RoboCop. You're supposed to be finding out. What is he finding out again? Like who murdered that Pokey guy?
Pokey guy who wanted to kill Pokey. That's all he's trying to find out here. Yeah.
That's what they should have called this story. Who killed Pokey? Not the combat zone, whatever. But anyway, so RoboCop here goes up to.
By the way, when he says you have 1 week to pay your fine, it's implied that RoboCop's going to come back and kill him, right? If he doesn't.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Just for throwing a hot dog at him. So, all right, we turn the page, and now RoboCop is confronting King, the promoter. I mean, let's just call him Vince McMahon or Ted Turner. Why not?
Sure.
And he's like, I've got some questions for you. And since this is Marvel in the 90s, we see the thought bubbles, and Mr. McMahon, King, or whatever you want to call him, is a RoboCop. He's found out. He knows it was me. I got to get out of here. And he runs into the ring, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's just so we can get RoboCop into the ring,
right? Absolutely.
Which I'm perfectly okay with. And even the announcer is, good Lord, we have a non-combatant in the ring. And I love this, the third panel here, where RoboCop steps on the ropes and he says, take my advice. Do not even think about it. And so King basically commanded these taser combatant guys to go after RoboCop, but he just flings them up into the air in the last panel with like well, it's Robocop, so it takes very little effort for him to throw
they,
these.
they try to electrocute him, and then and this is definitely a Star Trek reference. He goes, "You have heard of reverse polarity," because like that's like a trope in Star Trek. To fix stuff, they just reverse the polarity all the time.
Right. And I think it's safe to say that Alan Grant probably worked on a few Star Trek comics in his day.
Maybe when he was trying to get, maybe this is how he was like trying to getting good with Shatner to work on Tech War.
Yeah, there you go. Look what I did, Mr. Shatner. I ruined Robocop. Yeah, all right. The polarity.
Why is he? What? He sounds like Hugh Grant.
Yeah, I don't know. He just came out of nowhere. Yeah,
it was very rom-com Hugh Grant.
It was. Well, that's how Alan Grant talks. Take it from me. Prove me wrong, everyone. Prove me wrong. Yeah, Alan Grant is Hugh Grant's dad. Doi.
But yeah, maybe they're really okay. I see it now.
Well, everyone in the UK, their last name is Grant or Sullivan. Yes. So yeah, the reverse polarity bit happens on the next page, as Yahel just said, and then let's see. The King guy tries to escape, but Robocop uses the ropes. They look like they're Twizzlers, basically.
Yeah, these are the most delicious ropes in all of combat sports.
Absolutely. And so Robocop takes him out, no problem, of course. And then he grabs Mr. King by the scruff of his neck or his collar, however you want to say it. And basically they're wrapping things up here. It's being viewed on a monitor, and it's being reported. This crowd is going wild. The country's top combateers. Why can't they just call them combatants? What is a combateer? Anyway, wiped out, and manager Deke King, that's almost like Dag. Manager Dag King under official arrest. And then Mr. Blackstone, the head of Nixco, is watching, and he goes, "Blast! I should have known better than to rely on King. He'll lead Robocop straight to me." And then he talks to, I guess, one of his scientists. It says, "Bad news, Professor King is arrested. You and I'll be next." But the guy on the monitor is all, "Oh, but Mr. Darkstone, surely Nixco will protect." He goes, "Nixco cannot be seen to sanction illegal behavior. We will be sacrificed. Unless, how close are you to completion?" And basically they say that the Nix cops are ready, and the page ends with him saying, "The test can wait. Activate them now." Any comments about this page? The coloring is good for sure, because it's like a dark and
Yeah. No, I agree. The coloring's great. Like the blocking, for lack of a better word, is really good. Everything here's pretty good. I actually really like that the guy is just like, initially at least, he's like, well, nope, we're gonna be sacrificed. Like we have to be. So because it tells you a lot about this. I don't know if he's in other issues, but it tells you a lot about this guy from Nixco, and that he obviously views the company as more important than even himself.
Right, absolutely.
Maybe he went to the Nixco orphanage. Maybe he was raised there.
Nice call back to Prime Directives. Make sure everybody listen to that episode. So we turn the page. Robocop is who is he carrying here? I have it in my notes here somewhere.
King. It's King.
Oh yeah, he's carrying King in himself.
The guy he's been chasing for the last 29 pages.
Right. Well, he just looks so generic without his hat. So he's taking him in for interrogation, and he's thinking to himself, "You have a lot of explaining to do, King, and my sensors suggest we do not yet know the half of it."
Not sure what that means, but okay. His infrared sensors again being misused.
Right. Well, they're just trying to do foreshadowing for the rest of the story, basically. And he gets a call on the radio. It says, "Headed east on the grid. Contact approximately 12 seconds. Prepare to intercept." And then out of nowhere, the Nix cops show up. And then Robocop, in classic Robocop style, is all, "Interfering with the law is a serious offense. Explain your action." And the The Nix cops are, silence! You are the criminal. You have damaged a Nixco police vehicle. You have taken an unauthorized prisoner. You will deactivate your weapon and come with us. And then the last panel, and this is a little British for me, is Robocop with his finger in the air. And like we're looking at it through the Nixco visor. And they even do the fake scan lines. Which
they did it really well.
Why didn't they do this visor for all the other like Robocop visor shots?
My guess is that this being 1990, this probably was not quick and easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying. I was actually, when I read this, I was trying to think of how they would do it. I was even like wondering, well, maybe they took like, you remember those stickers that they used to sell? And they would have like lines like through them, almost like scan lines. And if you separate the sticker from the backing, it's just like a clear covering with those lines, those ribbed lines. Mm-hmm. You could put that, I guess, over this, but do something like that. I don't know, because they didn't. It's not just lines. They made everything like pixelated too, like all the regular line work. So I'm curious how they did this in 1990. I mean, Photoshop was a thing, so I guess they could have. Mm-hmm. Anyways,
well, like there was this comic called Shatter that touted itself as being like the first computer like generated comic book. I feel like that was going on around this time. So it must have been possible. But anyway, you can actually ask Lee Sullivan because he's still alive. Unfortunately, Alec Grant has passed. So if you ever see him at a con, tell him Obscurity Now sent you. Then go ask Lee Sullivan how they did this back in 1990. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's an awesome panel. It looks great. However, I feel like Robo's dialogue is a little weird. He says, "You are being very foolish. This is your last warning. Surrender while you still can." And I think it's just really weird for one robot to tell another robot they're being foolish. But
well, I also find it very odd that Robocop cares more for robot life than human life, because he's given these guys like so much warning and so many chances, and these guys are clearly way more dangerous than all the humans he's murdered in this issue. So yeah, it's just very odd, because this shows Robocop can hold himself back.
Well, if he wants to, I guess.
So again, there are no good guys in this. Robocop is a fascist murderer.
No. You've got it all wrong. Humans bad, robots good.
The humans are terrible too. OCP is bad. OCP almost comes off looking like the good guy in a way here.
Yeah, almost.
Which is very weird, because OCP is definitely not the good guy. Nixco's obviously not the good guy. I mean, I feel like everybody deserves to die.
It's like a lesser of two evils. Like, who's worse, Apple or Google? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is the end of RoboCop issue 1, the combat something or other. I don't even remember.
Robo fan, you are the future of law enforcement.
I like how the next issue is called Murphy's Law. Do you get it? Do you see what they did there?
Yeah. I feel like they might as well have called this one Murphy's Law. It's whatever he wants to do.
Murphy's Law.
I get it.
But
I get it. They're big fans of Candace Bergen.
Let me just. Well, wow. Did you even watch that show? Because I certainly didn't.
I mean, I've seen bits of it. So for those that don't know, Murphy's Law was a TV show, very popular. But like there's a British version of it too. Oh, maybe that's what this is a reference to, due to the British writers. But yeah, it like starred I thought Candace Bergen, but maybe not.
No, I'm pretty sure you're right. But Murphy's Law is also a action movie starring Charles Bronson.
Well, apparently it was also a TV show, a British and an American one from the late 80s, early 90s, and that was a comedy drama that does not star Candace. This is so strange.
Or Charles Bronson?
Or Charles Bronson, no. It stars George Segal, father of Steven Seagal.
Or Katie Seagal, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe that might make more sense.
I like how one person here is excited for our Murphy Brown reference, Paisley
Thank you.
boxers. I was going to ask you something about Murphy's Law. Oh, well, maybe not. But it's also, you know what Murphy's Law is. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong,
Right.
which used to be the catchphrase for this podcast back when my computer used to screw up so much. But thank God those days are.
Wow.
Thank
Steve,
Robocop. Those
should we
days
just
are
do a
gone.
Murphy's Law podcast? Because it seems like there's like about 24 Murphy's Law TV shows and movies. So if
Can you imagine how unfunny that sitcom probably is? I don't think.
I mean, yeah, it's a sitcom from the late 80s, so I'm sure it's terrible.
All right, are you ready to render your verdict?
Yeah, let's do it.
In accordance to Obscurity Now, the most important streaming.
Remember, rated. That is the question.
All right, Officer Velasquez, do you think Robocop issue 1 by Marvel Comics should be remembered for all of human and robo history, or tossed into the robo pit of obscurity, never to be heard from again?
You know what? I would say yeah. Like we've talked about, the art is really good. It captures the tone. It's I mean, no one's likable in this as far as I'm concerned. Like they're all terrible people. Everyone involved, but
Lewis.
yeah, Lewis. Well, I don't know.
She shows up for one page, like 3 panels. That's it.
She's over here flirting with Robocop, who's a murderer.
Right.
So I don't know.
She likes it rough. What can you?
I feel like,
say?
well, he's gonna give it to her rough. What do you think?
Oh man, no, I love the Marvel ongoing series. I've actually read most of it. I think I'm halfway through it. It only gets better as the comic progresses. And if you want more like well written like RoboCop that maybe isn't perfect but still sits with the tone of the first film quite well, then I highly suggest that you seek out the ongoing Marvel Comics series of RoboCop #1. So for all those reasons and more, RoboCop #1 shall be remembered. In accordance to Obscurity Now, the most important streaming YouTube podcast in all of the internet, you shall be remembered. Yes. Good show. Good show. All right. Well, I think we've done the Robo Lord's work today. What do you guys think in the chat, huh? You like RoboCop #1 by Marvel Comics? Huh? Anyone? Should have used Comic Sans there. Oh, too much work, buddy. Too much work. But yeah, that's pretty much our show, unless there's anything else you'd like to talk about, Yahel.
No. We're still going through Robo-vember, right? We still have something.
Yep, we have one more episode left that will take place after Thanksgiving, and it will be Robocop, the TV series, I guess the pilot. I don't know. I was going to ask you about that.
You're talking about like the American-made one?
Yes, not Prime Directives. But yeah, we'll figure it out off air. And other than that, once again, please check out the Escape to Earth Kickstarter. There will be a link in the description. It ends in 12 days. So go over there, click on the link, and give till it robo hurts. I mean, if you like comics, like RoboCop #1, you can't go wrong. Am I right, Yahel?
That's right. Everybody, including the dinosaurs, have abs in your third issue, right?
Oh wait, let me get in line with RoboCop #1 here. If you do not contribute to my Kickstarter, you will be punished. You will be murdered, basically. All right, so make sure you tune in next Sunday for more obscure RoboCop action, only on Obscurity Now. Make sure you subscribe and like, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links. If that's what you're into, I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.